I've been playing Rocket League since 2016. I think it was OG Season 2. I expected this to be a 2-year project maybe, you know, $20,000, 2 years, knock it out, be done, have something really cool. During COVID, I was just really kind of missing some of the college days where I was building a Formula style car. And unfortunately, we're on year 4, year 5 now. It's taken a lot longer than expected. And so, I mean, there's definitely like a pressure that kind of builds up, not necessarily from the community or from fans, but kind of just from myself to get to that kind of final milestone of driving. And with how many hours I had in Rocket League, it was just kind of a happy meshing of the two passions into one project. I'm Matt, and this is Project Octane. I think the part that I'm most proud about is the actual execution of the bodywork in the end. Like, there's so much that, because it's been a long process, that you learn along the way, things that you would do differently, that there's moments where it's like, oh yeah, I really wish I had done that, I really wish I had done that. But in the end, when you slap the bodywork on and you're like, that actually looks exactly like what it's supposed to, I don't think there's any beating that, even if you would change something about it. So the chassis is completely custom. There was nothing that was out there, be it a Polaris Razor or golf cart, any commuter car, anything like that, that we felt proportionally you could match the actual length, width, height of the Octane. So we went completely custom on that route, salvaged some suspension components from some salvaged SUVs, but then designed the bodywork to fit that tube frame that ended up being the base of the chassis. So almost all of the bodywork is 3D printed. That was just something where I could get the exact geometry that I kind of wanted. We had looked at doing like fiberglass body panels, which I would definitely do in the future, but at least for this iteration, that was kind of the key to really matching as many details of the Octane as we could. The Cristiano is completely 3D printed out of like 13, 14 different pieces. So there's been a lot of splicing different things together. One of the things I did do is I went back into a lot of like replays I had saved in game and like zoomed in on really small parts. So things like where the headlights mount, I was looking in game to see, is that bolt a 12 point? Is it a 6 point? Does it have a CAD plating where it's, kind of a brass colored looking, or is it more of a darker gray? So like really minute, like small things, but tried to be really faithful to the game in every, way I could, just get everything proportionally as close as possible. Rocket League community support has been great. Seeing the response people have when they see this at events. We were in Raleigh a couple months ago, and people lined up to come out and take pictures with it outside the arena, and that was just like an awesome, surreal moment, seeing kind of it all coming together there at the end and kind of coming full circle. I've had a lot of supporters over the last 4 years that have stuck with the build, that have been patient with the build. So we've made things from Reddit posts that we had donations from to start this thing. And that's really what actually enabled this to kick off. I wouldn't have been able to front the upfront cost of doing a custom frame and chassis to even get it off the ground. But that was something that the community enabled, and from there we were able to then take off and kind of follow up with then completing the second half of the bodywork and everything that follows. That was the last, I think, milestone that people saw in the build, kind of congratulating us on the build, even though in my mind there's some things I got to take care of. Now with driving, that's the last milestone really of the project in mind. I think we should say something to kind of lead to the driving. I feel like, when you watch Drive to Survive, it's always like, it's the performance, it's the execution.
Built on performance, defined by execution.
I kind of almost want to say something to like if we use like radio, fake radio or anything at like the start of like driving or something. Like now that the build's done, like it's really about executing, like getting out there, and if it took 4 years and this thing can't drive, like I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Maybe I should look at the camera and say that. At this point, I think it's really just about executing. We've had the 4 years to get to the build to this point, and just want to hit the streets, tear up the roads a little bit, and be successful in that regard. That's the completion in my mind. If we go out there and there's something that was critically missed in this process and it can't drive down the road, that's just going to be like super deflating. So at this point, it's really about executing, driving, going out there and finding features.